Issues That Matter with Calvin Lester and Stephen Jackson on WKSH 97.7 The Heat.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. I'm Calvin Lester. Stephen Jackson's on his way. We want to tell you how much we appreciate your participating with us. And we always take a moment to thank Brother Johnny Antoine for opening up this platform. We do not take it for granted that we had this opportunity to speak to you, the public, about the things that matter to us as a community, the things that matter to us as a race, the things that matter to us, you know, whether talking about business or finance or any of those things. And certainly we realize that we don't have these outlets. And the fact that Brother Antoine has provided this very important platform for us is something that we do not take for granted. So we always start the show by telling you, Brother Antoine, thank you so much for opening these doors for us so we can have these important conversations for the folks. You know, we got to keep our people informed, particularly in days like today where, man, there's just so much bad information that's out there. And, you know, you got people running behind this orange man like it's a cult, but we're going to talk about that in a minute. But listen, if you want to talk, we'd love to hear from you. There are several ways you can do that. If you're watching on Beyonce's internet, you can always send us a message on that stream on the YouTube or social media. Or if you want to call us on the branded hotline, that number is 318-779-0459, 318-779-0459 on us, WKSH, because we play what we want to play and say what we want to say. How you doing today, Brother John?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm good. I you know, we have been struggling with this whole getting healthy situation, and you know, I started meal prepping this week, so
that's good.
Yeah, that's the, you know,
that's the big part of it.
That's the big part, eating right. Now, if I can ever get back to on the ground and exercising, I'll be doing better. But you know, it all starts by staying out of Southern Classic. That's the big thing. You know, you can't get healthy running up in Southern Classic once, twice, and 4 times a week. So I'm not saying that's me, but I'm just saying if those of you that struggle with that situation, you know, I found that Southern Classic ain't the most
no, it's not.
No, healthy situation.
Hey, you know, you win that battle. When you're out of the gym, you win the battle of losing weight when you're not in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just being honest with you. I don't learn that, dude.
No. My guy told me all the time, he said, listen, nobody can outwork out bad eating. So
yeah, you can't do that.
But look, let's talk about what's going on in town. There are a number of issues that I've been seeing. One of the things that I saw here on the state level is that, you know, Governor John Bel Edwards is close to, this is his last term. He's going to be out of office at the end of the year, and we sure are going to miss him, particularly if we don't do the right thing in November. But while he's governor, there's been this issue about death row. There are about 57 people on death row right now, and 55 of them have put in applications for clemency. Clemency says not letting them go home. It just says we're going to convert their death penalty sentence to life. What does that mean? Well, first of all, when you're talking about death penalty, Louisiana hasn't executed anybody since 2010, and before that, it was 2002. So it's been easily over 20 years since we've had an execution in the state. One of the reasons why is because we're finding out that a number of those gentlemen were wrongfully convicted, and you can't take something back. Yeah, they are on death row. They are on death row, and they were wrongfully accused. Yes. And so you've got that situation. And then, of course, you've got the whole scenario about the drugs that they use to administer this whole lethal injection. The states that were buying it can't buy it anymore. And then there's a lot of federal lawsuits about whether or not that's even humane, because there's a Supreme Court case, and the name of it escapes me, that talks about the death penalty as cruel and unusual punishment. And there's an amendment in the Constitution that says there will be no cruel and unusual punishment. I want to say it might be Duncan versus Louisiana, as a matter of fact. And in the 70s, they stopped executions, but then they came back and they started them again. But there's a school of thought that says we as a society don't need to be doing death penalty cases. And in fact, the studies are showing that in places like Louisiana, the cost of trying to go from a trial to actually executing a person, the state spends well over $1 million in each one of those cases. So the question becomes, why are we spending $1 million when we can just, put somebody in jail for life and that be it? So
Right.
that's something that's up. Well, of course, our attorney general wrote what I thought was a pretty bad AG's opinion that said the time had run for them to the folks on death row to appeal, but that wasn't the case. And thankfully, Governor John Bell prevailed on the board of pardons for them to have a hearing, which is not to say that people are going to be free, but they're going to have what we in the law call their due process and be allowed a hearing to make their case before the pardons board. And if they make the case, then they may get clemency. If they don't, they won't. But again, nobody's going home, but we're talking about commuting those sentences from the death penalty to life imprisonment. And, it's kind of hard for people.
Crazy,
Well, Johnny, people say they're pro-life until it comes down to stuff like that. It's kind of interesting, inconsistent with that. Other thing I saw in the criminal justice world, just hopping over, the governor of Florida, Mr. DeSantis, removed an African-American prosecutor in Florida. In fact, she was one of the few African-American female prosecutors in the state of Florida. And he removed her from office because he said he didn't like the way she was handling cases. Not that she was doing a bad job. He just didn't like the way she was handling it. And this is a young woman who had won her election with 60% of the vote. So the people of her they don't call them parish, her county elected her as a prosecutor to do what they wanted her to do, not to be responsible to the governor, but he used his power as governor to remove her or suspend her. And then they lied on her saying that she wouldn't give government property, but she had given it back. It's just, there's a, what do you want to call it? I guess you just call it what it is. Just racism and racist behavior with the Trumps and the DeSantis. These guys have a major black woman problem. They have a problem with intelligent, articulate black women who are prosecutors and judges. Trump is in one of his cases in D.C. The judge is an African-American female, and he's, calling her all out of her name. And so,
How does a former president do stuff like that?
Johnny, I'm going to tell you something, man.
That's just crazy. And then he getting away with it, though. That's the point that's getting me, though, Calvin. He getting away with it.
I'm not going to say he's getting away with it. I'm going to say that he has thus far has escaped consequences.
Right.
But it does seem as if those bells are ringing. And, they're starting to stack up these charges on him, whether it be, the thing in New York with the taxes, whether it be the thing in New York with the alleged rape situation and the lying on the people. And then there was a deal about how, his company not being tax exempt and the deal with the documents. And then, this whole deal with Georgia. I mean, he's been indicted 4 times. What's amazing to me, and I thought about this yesterday, and I think later in the month, we're coming up on the anniversary. You know what? You remember what the biggest controversy was for Obama?
What?
You remember when he wore that tan suit? You remember that?
Yeah.
And everybody's like, how does the president of the United States wear a tan suit? He can't be out here. He's supposed to be in the black and the brown and the gray. He had on a tan suit. People lost their mind.
Wow.
Could you imagine, Johnny, what would have happened today if they would have found Obama had, crossed the sidewalk the wrong way? Let alone be indicted 4 different times, right?
Right.
So no, man, I just think, I don't think the founders of the United States of America, there were a number of things that they didn't think about. Number one, they never thought of black people being part of the equation, right? There's a draft of the Declaration of Independence that talked about getting rid of slavery, but it never would have passed, so it never got put in there, right?
Right.
There was this idea of us as property. Well, even poor white folks couldn't vote because in order to vote in the United States, you had to be a white land owning property owning white man. So if you didn't have any property, you couldn't vote either.
Right.
So if they did not allow regular, not white folks to own who didn't own property to vote, they certainly would not have considered African Americans. Well, there's always been a not so subtle band of racism and social stratification in this country.
Right.
Those that have and those that have not. And the whole system is built a lot around that a lot. They always believed that the presidents of the United States would come from that patrician class, the landowning class, the wealthy folks, the people who have generational wealth. And because their thought was, because they have this generational wealth, they're going to be good stewards of the country. They're not going to want to steal anything because they have plenty of money and they're already going to do the right thing.
Right.
And in some cases that was right, but most of the cases is wrong. The folks that we have now, it's all about a money grab. And I don't think the founders would have ever thought that someone like Donald Trump would be president. And so, he was just like they never thought that Obama would be president. And so we've had extremes on each side, I guess, if you want to say it, but certainly I'm not equating Obama with Trump.
I understand.
But I will say that Trump, for many people, is the manifestations of their anxiety with our country becoming more and more African American dominated, and you have more and more African American political power. Losing what you thought you had control over makes you want to make America great again. It's all about going backwards, right? Because you don't want to go to the future, because the future is brown and female. And if you're white and male, that scares you to death.
2050.
Yes. It's coming, and they know it, and they've been knowing it. So look, let's take a real quick break, and we're going to run through a couple of these things that we've got. We're going to talk about your boy Trump, and we might have to come back with Georgia because he got a Georgia problem too. You're listening to 97.7 WKSH. This is Issues That Matter. I'm Calvin Lester. Stevens Jackson's on his way. We play what we want to play and say what we want to say. Stick and stay on the other side of the break.
Constantly in my arms is where
Issues That Matter with Calvin Lester and Stephen Jackson on WKSH 97.7 The Heat.
And we are back. We are back. We are back. How you doing, Brother Jackson?
I'm doing great.
Well, I was seeing that Sister Fannie Willis served some papers yesterday.
Okay.
She's got a 100-page indictment.
Why you have to say it like that? Sister Fannie Willis.
Well, that's her name.
Okay.
Well, she is district attorney from Fulton County. As I appreciate it, she is a 1993 graduate of Howard.
Okay.
I think Howard's law school.
Go Bison, the Mecca.
Yep. And she's the district attorney there in Fulton County, and she indicted former President Trump along with
No. She didn't indict anybody. The grand jury.
the grand jury indicted
Okay, all
under
right.
her leadership.
Okay.
Under
All
her,
right.
she's doing her job, and under her leadership, the grand jury returned a true bill, indicting former President Trump and 18 other individuals with these charges that deal with voter fraud and attempting to overturn the election in Georgia. And what was interesting, she charged them under the RICO. I think it's the racketeering and influencing criminal enterprises.
Man, when I heard that, though.
Oh, no.
The RICO law?
So let me tell you something.
Rico was pretty broad.
It is very
Yes,
broad.
By connection, by
It is very broad, and it is, for those who practice criminal law, it is the bane of your existence, because they don't have to prove the specifics of any one particular act.
right.
They have to prove that there was an overall criminal enterprise. Some of these enterprises can be very complex, but they can make it very simple. He did this that helped him do this, and that's why he did that. And I think it's pretty clear. There's compelling evidence, let me say it like that, when you've got an audio recording of the former president asking somebody to find 11,000 votes, one more than he needs, that he was trying to influence and was involved in a corrupt act. And of course, you know, the thing that's interesting to me is of the bogus electors they were trying to run, 8 of them have signed cooperation agreements. So they talking, and that's going to be very interesting. I think that is going to be very powerful. And the other thing that I like about this particular case is they have courtroom cameras, and so as the trial is going through, and as you know, they're going through motions and things of that nature, the country will be able to see. And I really wish that every courtroom in America had a camera in it, because people need to see what goes on in court. They need to see what lawyers are doing. They need to see what judges are doing. They need to see what juries are doing. They need to be invested in this process. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this particular situation plays out. But, you know, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be very
thoughts.
interesting, and you know, I think this is we were playing pin the indictment or wheel of indictment, or we were counting all these indictments and then lost count. But in this particular case, he has some co-conspirators with him.
Right.
Mark Meadows, Rudy Giuliani, and some other folks who acted with him. So you know, you got your Georgia indictment, you've got the Washington D.C. indictment, or the federal indictment, which is
Right.
in Washington D.C.
Right.
You have the indictment in New York,
Right.
Manhattan.
Right.
Where else?
You got a federal one in Florida about the documents.
The federal indictment about the documents. That's
The one in D.C. I think is about January 6th.
6th, right? January 6th. You got the one in Manhattan about the hush money payment.
Yes.
I think so.
And then there's something also in New York about the alleged tax evasion
Tax evasion.
with the Trump organization
Right.
not paying
Right,
all
but
the
that's
taxes
not
they were
him.
supposed
That's
to.
the Trump organization. So,
Right.
yeah. That's
You know, the
their
Trump organization got one name on it.
Well,
It ain't Ivanka.
What is that?
they make it very clear that they like to make it very clear that the Trump
Whose name
organization
was?
is not him.
Right.
It's his organization. So Can you say, how can you say fall guy without saying fall guy?
The legal juridical entity that is owned by one person.
Right. So, but you know, it's gonna be interesting to see. But what seems to be surprising is, you know, a Democrat or something gets indicted or something, and it's, oh my God, this thug, this criminal, this heathen, get him out, run him out of town today.
Lock him up, lock
her up.
Yeah.
You know, Trump gets indicted, and this is political prosecution, and why are they weaponizing the Justice Department? Watch this. Get rid of the FBI.
Hey man, I never knew so many white people were pro-black until Trump got.
Okay.
Because now all of a sudden, all of the stuff that black folks have been saying about the criminal justice system, the two-tier, the inequities, now all of a sudden, this is malicious prosecution. They don't have enough evidence. Like, that's what we're doing now?
Yeah, try to make a black man white. No, man,
it's very interesting.
Yeah,
very interesting.
You know, we got to do a better job at holding people accountable.
True.
And I think this is what Sister Fannie and the Manhattan DA and the fine folks in the special counsel in that case are doing, is they're holding folks accountable.
Right.
You cannot, no one person is bigger than our government and our democracy, and holding Trump accountable should send a strong message.
It should, and I'm going to end on this.
Thank you, because he ain't worth much airtime.
He's not, but here, I'm gonna link this to something. We have said on this show, one of the best things that has happened in Caddo Parish is having an African-American district attorney. And I think we're seeing nationally that these African-American lead prosecutors are holding everybody accountable. And that's another one of those things that the status quo is not prepared for. I mean, you know, in Fulton County, in Manhattan, Caddo Parish, all those things, you know. And so elections matter. And when you have an opportunity to put someone from the community in a real position of power, you need to be really circumspect about giving that opportunity. So that's what I want to say about that. Speaking of elections, I know you did a really good wrap up, or what do you call it, handicapping, not long ago about some of the races that are going on. I've noticed that some of the state races have gotten a little more interesting. I see where there were two Democrats that jumped into the Attorney General's race. One is a member of is associated with the Louisiana Association of Justice. The other gentleman, I'm not sure if he is, but they're both white Democrats from South Louisiana. One is from New Orleans. One is in that New Orleans area. I thought that was interesting. I saw where what's this guy, Risponi, jumped into the lieutenant governor's race, which I thought was interesting, particularly given the fact that it seemed like, you know, they had coalesced around Nungesser and kind of leaving him alone, but then Risponi jumps in the race as no party for all things. So I think that's going to be.
It wasn't Eddie Risponi though, huh?
Eddie Risponi.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, Phony Risponi.
Really? I didn't catch that, bro.
Phony Risponi jumped in.
I didn't catch that.
Phony Risponi jumped in. So I don't know if him mad about the governor's race last time, but Phony Risponi is in it. So
in the words of an infamous friend,
okay.
Wow.
There it is. There it is. Sometimes that's all you can say.
Wow.
Sometimes that's all I can say. In Caddo Parish, we have an opportunity to make history twice. First, obviously in the sheriff's race, we have an opportunity to elect the first African-American sheriff.
Henry Whitehorn.
And in another statewide, parish-wide office, we have the opportunity to elect not only the first black, but the first woman in Caddo Parish history to win a parish-wide seat in the assessor's office. There's never been an African-American woman in the history of Caddo Parish to win a parish-wide seat. But there's a young lady that's running for tax assessor who may just be able to make history twice in one night. We'll see how that goes. So that's what I have on on that piece. Something else that I saw that's of interest to me. I don't know if you want to touch that for the whole.
Vote for Stephen Jackson,
Right.
State Representative, House
Right.
District 2.
I wasn't going there. Here's why I
my
was
bad.
going.
I thought that's where
Well,
you
that's
were
okay.
going.
That's okay.
Go ahead. Go there. Go there.
No.
Go where you were going to go.
Well, here's where I was going, and I know generally people in equivalent governmental offices don't like to criticize each other. So I'm not even going to ask you this, but there's a whole thing going around now about some raises that were given to some city council employees. There are 5 employees. The city council has 5 employees. They have a clerk of council, I think a deputy clerk of council. I think there's a deputy clerk in charge of the budget, or budget officer. There's someone for community liaison, and then there's someone that was recently hired to be Mr. Johnson's. I think he's council liaison, and then you have a receptionist. And so apparently all 5 of them were given raises, and it appears that in some cases the raises were $10,000.
Yeah.
And I think 3 of the raises were $10,000. One of the raises was like 5. So the interesting piece is how politically that's gonna unravel itself, and so that's something that I think we all want to kind of to see how that goes, because of course I saw where they're having a meeting on tomorrow. So it could be little or nothing. It could be something. It'll
be interesting.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays itself out. I know from working on the council that the people that work for the council do a really good job, and so if the council decided that they want to bless their employees, and you're their boss, you should be able to do that. So we'll see how that all shakes out. I don't. That's not as controversial, I don't think, as people are making out to be. But we'll see how that all shakes out. So let's take a real quick break. We got a couple other things we're going to get to, and we will be back. You're listening to Issues That Matter. This is 97.7 WKSH. We play what we want to play and say what we want to say.
In your eyes shine pictures of this time for us. I melt with love when our lips kiss. Silent words move the earth and shake my world, but nothing means as much. Your smile, like that special touch. Your smile, from your smile. Your smile. Oh, if anything I'd miss, your smile, I never could resist. Your smile, your smile. In your touch, there's tenderness, sweet caress that soothes our pain. When I'm lost and feel low, to you I go to make things right again. But nothing means as much. Your smile, like that special touch. How could I resist your smile? Your smile. Your smile. No other love can light my life. No one can make things right. Tell my baby smile. The earth and shake my world. Ooh, I melt with love. No other love can light my life. No one can make things right. Tell my baby sweet caress, the tenderness, the way you light my life. No other love, your smile. No one can make things right. Tell my baby saving all your smile. Love for you, no one does to me what you do. Ooh, baby, smile. Your smile. No one can make things right. Tell my baby smile. Feeling low, the sun can shine again.
I'll bring us in.
Issues That Matter with Calvin Lester and Stephen Jackson on WKSH 97.7 The Heat.
And we are back. We want to thank you for joining us here today. Calvin, if anybody wants to call in, what's that number?
Yes, you can call us at 318-779-0459, 318-779-0459. That is a hotline. If you are so inclined to speak with us, we'd love to hear from you. Or if you're on Beyonce's internet, send us something in the chat and we will definitely holler back at you. But we definitely want to hear from you with all of the stuff that's going on.
Yeah, yeah. And so there's a lot going on in the city. Homicides, we have recorded our 53rd homicide. I think it's really more like 55.
Right.
Crime is still going on. You know what really interested me the other day?
What's that?
Was that I'm still trying to wrap my head around the situation in Stony Hill, Highland, where the two gentlemen got shot for trying to rob. I don't know if there was an altercation that took place,
Yeah.
but it seemed like there was an issue at a cell phone store or something.
Right.
And two young gentlemen, two youth came in trying to rob the store. Well, two other patrons went to their car, armed themselves, and when these gentlemen came out, they shot and killed them. Y'all didn't see that? That was
I saw
Sunday
it.
or Saturday
No,
or Sunday.
that was this week. That was this weekend.
What?
And they had some surveillance video from inside the store
Right.
that showed the beginnings of the altercation or the attempted robbery or whatnot.
Because there was a robbery,
Right.
and the two young gentlemen who got killed, unfortunately, were trying to rob the store's clerk.
Right.
But then these other two gentlemen went and armed themselves, and I guess they turned into vigilante justice.
So
I don't know. How does that work? Were they not a party to it? Should they have just mind their own business?
So that's problematic on several levels.
Okay.
There's a concept in the law that allows a certain amount of force under the concept of defense of others.
Okay.
But you have to be really careful about that because
Okay.
you still have the standard in terms of how much force was brought towards you in terms of how much force are you allowed to respond. In other words, if someone comes at me with a knife and I pulled out a machine gun, that's probably a little much. Or if someone was threatening to hurt somebody and they were beating them up with their hands and I pulled a gun and shot them, that defense of others thing gets really, really interesting. And because in the last few years, we've had this whole Trayvon Martin and what's the guy's name? Zimmerman, with this whole Republican-led castle doctrine that has basically changed the way self-defense goes. Because it used to be with self-defense, you had a duty to withdraw first. You see a situation, your responsibility is to withdraw first. And if after withdrawing, someone proceeds to come at you, then you can use a certain amount of force. Well, with this whole castle doctrine, the castle doctrine says my home is my castle and I can defend my castle. So if you come into my house, that's the shoot the burglar law. If you come in my house, I can shoot you. Well, the castle doctrine is extended to say, hey, everywhere I am, I'm my own castle. So if you come at me, just like I was at my house, I can use whatever force I deem necessary. And so the problem that I have with it is, if the young people had firearms and they were discharging their firearms, then maybe. The problem that I have is you withdrew from the store to your vehicle, armed yourself, and came back. So at the point where you withdrew, that's not self-defense, because you exited yourself from the situation. You could have come out the store, ducked behind the car, and that
Call
been the end of
911.
it.
Right.
Call 911. But there was a level of premeditation, in my humble opinion, where you went back to your car, and then at the point you armed yourself and entered the store, now you're entering the store as an aggressor. And these two individuals that were in the store were leaving. So they are fleeing the situation. And they were not engaging the two people that shot them, I don't believe. I haven't seen any evidence. Let's say allegedly. The people that they were engaged with were the people in the store. And so these people allegedly that perpetrated the shooting and killing, they were not a party to that whole scenario. So I think that's problematic to me.
So you're saying they brought it back in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Like, I mean, if you encounter a situation where someone's jumping on somebody and you stop, you pull them off them. One thing, that's defending somebody.
Right.
You use a certain amount of force to pull them off of them. Let's say they are in a process of about to shoot somebody with a gun. You shoot them to stop them from shooting another person.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, I
you
got
got that.
I got you.
But in this case, these guys were leaving. So you came toward them. They didn't even come at you. It's just,
Right.
you know, I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff going on with that one, man. That doesn't pass the smell test to me.
Yeah.
You know, and I know that there's a lot of concern in the community. I think rightfully so. So what's interesting right now is that they've got these photographs of these individuals that they've been plastering all over local media. The folks that they want for questioning, they haven't turned themselves in. You know, there's supposed to be, I think I heard some kind of rally that's supposed to go on at some point tomorrow, I believe.
for the young men that got
For the young men. There's some one of the, so they had a balloon release, I want to say.
But why? Let me ask you.
Okay.
Why? It seems like we are, and I don't want to sound insensitive, right? Should I go then? Because you know I'm on the ballot, right?
So here's the thing. so let me do this for you. Let me do this.
That's
for
why
you.
you always got to have a sharpshooter, Johnny. That's my sharpshooter.
Even if I don't think anyone is absolving the young men for their behavior,
The response seems to be,
because
did you have to kill them?
you didn't have to rob those folks.
Right. You didn't have to rob them.
That was
Right.
wrong.
Right.
That being said,
But as Big Mama would say, two wrongs don't make a right.
they don't. And what you did was a bad situation was compounded because they made a bad decision, and another bad decision on top of their bad decision became a fatal decision. And we should have scenarios where if people make bad decisions, those bad decisions should not be fatal. Particularly when it was an incident between those two young men and the storekeeper and these other folks. Now, we may find out later, because we don't have the facts, that these two individuals may have been call themselves security for the place.
Yeah. Well, why run?
So if they were security for the place, my question would be, okay, well, then you are acting in your employment. So now the owners are more responsible. They can't pretend like, well, we didn't know.
Yeah.
It
Ain't no need to flee if you're doing your job.
So Calvin, so the guys that it was actually robbing the place shot and killed two other guys.
No, they got killed.
The robbers were killed.
Okay.
The alleged robbers.
From the
So,
guys that's coming back in.
so
okay,
from what I saw in the video,
They left.
the
They
two
left
young,
out.
there was like 3 young men. They got into it with one of the storekeeper. One of them, a couple of them, jumped over the counter to rob them. They snatched something, and as I appreciated, were leaving. When they were snatching, and you hear someone saying "Stop thief! Stop thief!" I think that's the point where the people that were on the inside ran to their car. One came with a looked like a pistol, and the other one looked like he had an AK or something. And they came, and I'm not a gun person, but it did not look like a pistol. It looked like a rifle or a shotgun. It looked like a rifle. Okay, it was a long gun. He comes back with a long gun, and I think when the 2 armed people with the long gun went inside, that's when the shooting happened. One of the young men was killed inside the store. The other one had made it outside and was killed outside.
No.
So, I mean, it's a bad situation. I don't think anyone is out there, making these young men out to be choir boys, because they weren't. Okay, but having said that, there's a response for society.
Right.
If you see somebody doing something like that, we don't expect you to. We pay people to do that. Our expectation is you call 911, give a description. This is what they look like. This is what they were wearing. This is the car they got into. Do that. But this is not the Wild Wild West where you just arm yourself. You just happen to have an AK. You just happen to have a long gun. You just happen to have something else.
Yeah, because I mean, my thing is, if you were acting in good faith in the first place, why do we have to do this whole "we looking for you" stuff? Just come out.
This is what happened.
I mean, because this. Take it again. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying this is Louisiana, and there are gonna be some people in this community that are gonna say, and it could be very well. It could be one of the people who wear a badge that we elect right now to wear a badge is gonna say, "Man, I appreciate you for your work."
No.
Shit.
Well,
Shit. Somebody gonna say, "Oh, they shouldn't." Somebody out there gonna say,
You should have
Man,
called 911.
No. I'm not saying what they should have
I know what you're
did.
saying, but
I
I'm
think that's
saying-
what they should have did. But it's gonna
Yeah,
there's gonna be some George Zimmerman thinking
right.
type person out there that's gonna
Right.
say, "Man, you did a heck of a job, Brown.
Right. Right.
Nope.
You did a heck of a job.
Right.
Good job,
You
Brown."
did the wrong job, Brown.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, my thing is, I don't understand why they're running. Why are they on the run?
I don't know. Guns make people bold.
It do.
Oh,
They
And,
do.
and
They
that's
do.
the problem with
It's
that.
a false sense of
because-
security.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I got a gun in here. I got a gun in my car, so I'm gonna stop the robbing.
Yeah, false sense of security.
Dude, call 911. Get the description of the car, and if they ain't killed nobody inside, you know what I'm saying? We got a caller, y'all.
Okay. Good evening. Good evening.
Caller, how you doing?
Hey, how are you all?
We're
Doing
doing
great.
great.
Couple of things. First of all, I appreciate the good job that you guys do,
Thank you.
and it's very informative, but it's also entertaining.
Well, we try.
So I do have an appreciation for it.
Mm-hmm.
First thing is on this Highland incident, it was reportedly a robbery.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The actions of those involved tend to lead me to believe that may not be the case.
Okay.
There could have been other issues going on, and I don't want to put anything out there specifically, but if I'm running for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm hiding for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And if they are that close to the association with the store owners, store managers, employees, somebody knows who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Sound like it.
Great possibility that could be in play.
Mm.
Now I wanna jump tracks on you if I can. Back to the Trump issue. I want to differ with you somewhat
Okay.
in that you don't need to use airtime. He doesn't deserve it,
Right.
but the truth does.
Right.
The truth deserves the airtime. As long as we sit back and let the lies dictate and dominate the airways. We're failing. We're failing to get the truth out there. And the truth is, with all of these documents missing, all of these documents scattered everywhere, some of them possibly have fallen into Moscow. Some of them have fallen possibly into North Korea. We don't know where they are. This guy cannot be trusted. He will put out top secret information on national news on Fox, and folks cheer it. Okay? And you guys brought up a great point. If Obama had accidentally stumbled and fell into an old lady, busted his head wide open, and the old lady was fine, we would still be hearing about it.
Yes, Lord. Watch this. Had he been carrying a watch this. Watch this. Had he been carrying a folder, with classified information in it, and when he tripped and fell, and that folder fell open and the papers fell out, they'd be talking about lock him up. Lock him up.
They didn't have to fall out. All they had to do was see confidential on there. They didn't even have to see top secret.
Lock him up. Lock him up.
Yes. So we don't need to give him
pass.
airtime, but we need to tell the truth.
Yes.
'Cause
Yes.
The truth still will make you free.
Yes, indeed.
And not only will the truth make you free, it'll lock you up if you're guilty.
There you go.
So I don't want to just say don't give him the airtime. We need to give him the airtime, but we need to give the truth the airtime.
We need to get the truth. Let it out. Let it out there. Well, we appreciate you, brother, for calling in.
Thank you much.
Thank you for your observation. We agree 100%. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
You go.
Well, so this has been a great show. We've had a great conversation here today, and we like to hear from our audience. We like to hear from members who are out there listening.
Yes.
I know as I walk and knock on doors.
Where you knocking on doors at?
I'm not gonna. Well, I ain't gonna say that because it's a whole lot of father leader going on out here.
That would be House District 2.
Thank you. I'm knocking on doors in all of House District 2. Catch me in the streets, baby.
Right.
House District 2. Thank you for that. Good catch. We out here knocking on these doors. I get a lot of people who say, "Man, I hear you and Lester on there, on the radio at night, and I enjoy it." So Johnny, just know that they out there listening.
Right.
And I had a gentleman in Lakeside Acres who told me, he said, "Yeah, man, I hear you on the radio with Lester every night." So shout out to you, and we appreciate all of you all who are listening. Those who call in, thank you so much. You make this show what it is.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to come up to us when you see us out and about in the community. If you got questions, we love to hear from you and how we can make the show better. Because again, at the end of the day, we believe this is a community service. We want to give you all the information that we can so that, when you're in these different corners, you can equip yourself to have an intelligent conversation. You don't have to deal with the people trying to bully you with bad information.
Bully you with bad information.
Yep.
I like that. And let me say this as we wrap up. It's election season, and y'all know how we do for election season because we like our people to be in power. It's paper grading time. It's accountability time. And one of the things that we cannot do is allow people to go downtown, go to Baton Rouge, go to Washington, D.C., and really get in the trenches and work. And then when it's time for them to either be promoted or, reaffirmed or to get their paper graded, we sit and play the whole, such and so is my cousin, and such and so is in my fraternity or my sorority. Folks, we are where we are because we have done what we've always done. And don't be mad at the people down there trying to get things done when they're up against 20, 30, 40 years worth of historic disinvestment. It's going to take a lot, and it's going to take people who are intentional and are not afraid to speak up for our community.
Right.
And so we got to do more than just look good in a suit and put makeup on and take good pictures. We got to be better than that, and we have to have better expectations than that. or you gonna continue. They gonna continue to have their suit on. They gonna continue to wear their makeup. They gonna continue to take their fancy pictures. And guess what? We're gonna end up with the same stuff we've always gotten. We can do better. We must do better. Thank you.
That's a perfect place to end. We will see you on Thursday. This has been Issues That Matter. Calvin Lester, Stephen Jackson, 97.7 WKSH. We play what we want to play. As you heard, we say what we need to say. Be blessed and see you Thursday.
Issues That Matter with Calvin Lester and Stephen Jackson on WKSH 97.7 The Heat. No matter when you listen, morning, afternoon, evening, or overnight, you'll always feel the heat on 97.7 WKSH The Heat.